So if you've been applying for jobs lately, then you have most likely found what most people have found, which is that the job market is completely screwed. You did what you were supposed to do. You went to college, took on a crapload of debt, graduated, got your degree, started applying for entry-level positions with entry-level salaries, only to find that these so-called entry-level positions require you to have 3 to 5 years of experience under your belt. What? Make it make sense. I've always been very vocal about my negative opinions towards college. And not only that, but I've always been very open about the fact that not only did I not go to college, but that I believe not going was one of the best decisions I ever made. Because if I had taken on student loans, I never would have been able to afford to save up a down payment for my home. I never would have been able to afford to take the risk to start my own business. And really, everything that I've ever accomplished, I've only been able to do by being able to stay out of debt. But even with that being the case, I will admit that sometimes I wonder if I'm being too dogmatic or too dismissive. Until I hear stories like this. I hear about people who have spent 4+ years of their life and gone into tens of thousands of dollars of debt to get a degree, and then when they graduate, they struggle to even find a $20 an hour job. When I hear this kind of thing, it really only further reinforces my beliefs that with the exception of a few very select, very specific career paths, going to college just isn't worth it most of the time. The math just doesn't math. There was definitely a time where having a traditional college degree helped you to stand out from other candidates and made it easier not just to land a job, but to land a job that pays well. But that's really just not the case anymore. If everyone has a bachelor's degree, then yours isn't that special. And as employers have finally begun to acknowledge, simply having a piece of paper denoting the fact that you studied a particular subject in school doesn't actually mean that you have the technical skills to be able to do the job well. And many of them just don't want to invest the time and the money into providing additional training for new hires. Yes, I know how dumb that sounds, but it's the truth. Businesses want to minimize their expenses, and so when they have a role to fill and they have multiple candidates to choose from, naturally they're going to pick the person whose skill set most closely aligns with the position they're trying to fill, the person who can hit the ground running from day one with little to no hand-holding. And unfortunately, that's very often not going to be a new grad. In fact, many employers now say that they would rather hire someone with hands-on experience but no degree than someone with a degree but no actual experience. And really, it makes perfect sense. But that means that if you're fresh out of school and looking for work, well, to put it bluntly, you're fucked. And this gets even worse during a recession, when many people find themselves laid off and looking for work. Because then you're potentially competing with people who have decades more experience than you. And they're desperate, and they're willing to take whatever they can get, even entry-level jobs, just to get some form of income coming in. But then how are you, as a new grad, supposed to compete with somebody who's already been doing that exact job for years? I touched on this briefly in last week's video, but studies are now showing that at least 52% of college graduates are landing jobs that, get this, don't even require a college degree. And only about 13% of them are said to graduate with the skills needed to start working in their field right away. Those statistics are not very good. Can you imagine going $30 or $40 or $80 or $90,000 in debt just to ultimately land a job that didn't even require you to do that? Oh my God, that is so much money. Those are cars, those are weddings, those are down payments on homes, and they're being completely wasted. Another problem is that in many fields, the number of college graduates actually far exceeds the number of available positions. Like in 2021 alone, US colleges awarded more than 134,000 Bachelor of Psychology degrees, while Indeed only lists about 9,000 open positions for someone with that degree across the entire country. Sports management is equally bleak, with over 16,000 graduates and only 1,000 available positions. How is that even supposed to work? I don't know. It sounds like a cruel game of musical chairs, but the chairs are on fire and the floor is lava and you're screwed and you're going to be in debt for the rest of your life no matter what you do. And let's not forget something that we all learned back in grade school, which is that the curriculum being taught is often very outdated. And I mean, it was funny when they used to tell us that we wouldn't always have calculators in our pockets. It was funny when we used to read out of textbooks that were published before we were born. But it's much less funny when you graduate college with an education that is 10 years behind the industry you're trying to enter. And this has become a bigger problem than ever with technology, which has created an ever-changing landscape of standards and practices across many industries, and schools just can't keep up. Think about something like marketing. The people who were studying marketing 5 to 10 years ago were not being taught to do things the way that they're done now. They weren't taught about social media or online ads. And even if current marketing students are learning those things, who's to say how the world of marketing is going to change in the next year or two, let alone in the next 5 to 10 years? And who's to say if the skills they're learning will actually be relevant when they need them to be? Changing formal curriculums takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of resources. They have to get many rounds of approvals. They have to change out all the software, all the textbooks. They have to re-educate the teachers and the admins. All of this stuff is very complicated and very expensive. And I don't think it's at all a reach to even say that they probably don't care. Colleges are not in the business of helping you land a job. They're in the business of making money. And they are measured on the amount of research they conduct, not on the long-term success of their graduates, which is an insane realization to come to. But that basically means that once they have your money, good riddance, you're on your own.
So that's it after 20 years. So long, good luck?
I don't recall saying good luck.
So, okay, college sucks, it's not worth the time or money, it doesn't really help you land a job. So what does? How do you actually land a good job? Well, first off, you need to have a good strategy. You need to pick a career where the demand outweighs the supply. And I know that it sounds like sunshine, rainbows, and puppy dogs to think about just blindly pursuing whatever your passion may be, but in the real world, there's a lot more to it than that. And unfortunately, passion doesn't pay the bills. You need to pick a field where you're gonna have leverage. Trust me when I say that it is so much better to have a company begging to hire you than it is to be the one begging for a job. In industries with labor shortages, not only will you have an easier time finding a job, but you'll also have the upper hand to be able to negotiate a higher salary for yourself because they need you at least as much, if not more, than you need them. Consider this. You wouldn't open up a Starbucks franchise right next door to 3 other coffee shops because common sense would say that there's too much competition and your business won't be likely to survive. Well, for some reason, nobody really thinks about it like this when they're pursuing an oversaturated career path, but it's exactly the same. Another strategy to consider is finding a way to get the education and the skill set that most closely aligns with what employers are actually looking for, which should be common sense and should be how colleges operate, but I guess we're beating a dead horse now, aren't we?
Stop! Stop! He's already dead!
And most importantly is that it should not cost you tens or, God forbid, hundreds of thousands of dollars. There are many lucrative fields that you can get into with just an online course or certification that's going to be way faster, way more up-to-date and hands-on, and most importantly, way cheaper. There should be no level of prestige associated with bankrupting yourself to get a meaningless piece of paper. Like, oh my god, I know that I've made videos about scams in the past, but for just a second, can we talk about the scam of convincing basically the entire world that there is some level of prestige or that it's somehow a class signifier to have a very expensive piece of paper, regardless of whether or not it's benefiting you in any way at all? That is a grift right up there with diamonds and funerals. Holy shit. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, online courses. Okay. I've mentioned course careers in the past as a resource that I think provides a far superior alternative to an overpriced college degree for anyone who's looking to get into an in-demand, high-paying field, so I actually decided to partner with them on this video. What they've done, which I personally think is really smart, is they've kind of reverse engineered the process of becoming qualified and educated for a particular position. So essentially they looked at the job landscape overall and they identified which fields have more demand than the available supply of qualified talent, and then they created courses specifically for those jobs based exactly on what employers are looking for in the job descriptions. So you graduate with a skill set and a resume that perfectly aligns with what an employer is looking for. And this might blow your mind, but you don't need to sell a kidney to afford it. Some of the careers that they specialize in are things like IT, tech sales, data analytics, digital advertising, and accounting. Accounting in particular is actually one of the most in-demand fields for remote jobs right now, so if you're looking to work from home, maybe try accounting. The way that it works is first you sign up for a totally free introductory course, which helps you decide which career to pursue. And once you've decided, then you sign up for the full course, which is less than $500 when you use my link. Literally less than $500, so you don't have to saddle yourself with debt. They'll teach you everything you need to know and everything employers look for, so you can outcompete all those sad sacks who went $40,000 into debt for no real reason. And when you go through course careers, you also get a bunch of other benefits, like help with your resume and LinkedIn, access to a community of peers who are also just starting their careers, and most importantly, support from the coaches who, get this, are actually currently working in those very industries. Crazy, right? One of their graduates, a guy named Josh, was just making like 15 bucks an hour working at Target. He was living with his folks in Ohio after he dropped out of college, and he decided that he wanted to better his life and to find himself a high-paying career. So he went through Course Careers, took the tech sales course, and a few months later landed himself a $70,000 a year remote job with benefits in the health tech industry. And after a year, they actually promoted him to a senior role. He's now making over $100,000 a year. So if you're looking to get into a new career and increase your income, check out Course Careers at the link in the description box down below. Take the free introductory course. It's free. And yeah, unless you're planning to become like a brain surgeon or something, maybe stop for a second and consider if going to college actually makes sense for you before you sign away your firstborn. Because as many people have found out a little bit too late, it's often not really worth it. If you enjoyed this video at all, please go ahead and hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. You can follow me on Instagram at according_to_Nicole. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. Take care. See you next week.